Everyone to the predictive playbook. This is Thursday, September the 9th, I believe, right? Yeah, it is September the 9th. I'm just kidding. 2021. More importantly, it is the eve of week one NFL action, and I just can't even stand it. I'm like a kid in Disneyland waiting for that special trip, that special ride where you have to wait an hour just to get on it. And I have to just turn
that
off
girl
this
has a
one
long
little
line.
echo thing I
She
have
must be
going on
cheap
here.
too, by the way.
Here, I will get it done. There we go. I got rid of it.
What'd you get rid
Anyway,
of? Me?
I was saying like standing in Disneyland to see
Yeah, I know. I heard you.
whatever, or get on that ride, whatever it was.
Same line. They have a chicken ranch here. About an hour to get in, get that ride.
Yeah, I hear those chicken ranches are pretty cool, except for the smell.
Yeah.
The smell can get you if you're not used to it.
Well, it depends. It depends on how much you hang out in cheap beer lounges, because that smell of yeast you become used to it. Oh, did I just say that?
So we're gonna play. I'm gonna give you guys.
Oh, dear Lord.
This is like a miniature Jeopardy, and I'm one of those fools that likes Jeopardy. And if you watch Jeopardy with me, it's probably not a pleasant experience at all. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
What, you or Jeopardy or yeast? That's it.
Oh, Jeopardy. I mean, I love the history of the Civil War and the Battle of Gettysburg in particular. There was a whole category last night on Jeopardy about Gettysburg.
Okay, that's good. Look, you got.
So I was answering the question before it was even read.
Okay.
Anyway, that's pretty cocky.
Right.
So I'm going to give you the angle here, and then you can tell me the teams, especially this first one. Week one teams that good English there, that did not win the Super Bowl. 4-16 against the spread in week one for 20% the last 20 seasons. And it has to be a playoff team from last year that did not win the Super Bowl. So
there's a few of them.
Quite a few of them, right? So
Yeah.
all those teams combined, 4-16.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Oh, so what are you saying? Saying week one team that did not win the Super Bowl, they're 4-16 against the spread for 20% last 20 seasons. One team. Now, it's not the same team, obviously, so it's different teams every year.
It's different teams because there's.
And
20
you want us
of
to
them.
name
There's
those
20,
teams?
There's 20 records. No, the ones that apply this year.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The Chiefs would be the only one.
The Chiefs, yep.
There you go.
That's the only one. In
Yeah,
other words,
the Super Bowl loser is basically what it's saying.
That's what I should have typed. The Super Bowl loser has the hangover, and they're 4-16 in that week one game.
Okay.
Fade the Chiefs, Mr. Finn.
It's equally as bad as the first 2 weeks. So Kansas City plays Cleveland, and that's a game that we can look at in a little bit if you guys want to. And here's one of my favorites, actually. And this doesn't apply this week, but for those in the chat room, you definitely want to write this one down. And the numbers are 6 and 9, so that's why I put the plus sign between it, because sometimes I say it the wrong way. But teams that have the extra rest facing a team on a short week, you would think the extra rest is a good thing, right? It's not. 19-37 are those teams that have been laying around for 9 days facing a team that has had 6 days of rest. 33% again over the last 20 seasons. And here's the most recent breakdown. Last year actually was 4-3. Year before that, 0-3, 0-1, 0-3, 3-2 in 2016, 0-1 in 15, and I can tell you it was 0-3 in 14. I just didn't have room to write it in. So that is something I think that is very important, especially for us guys and Las Vegas Chris too that are in the contest, that and I don't need my machine learning tools to tell me this when I get the database running for the Circa. I don't need it to tell me that I will guarantee you that the teams that are getting the most rest in those matchups when they come up later in the season will be one of those top 5 picks by the contest overall. So that's something I think personally for down the road is hugely important, in my humble opinion. Then we have week 1 teams won less games than the opponent in the previous season, 67%. And when they're a home favorite of 3.5 or more, it jumps to 71%. And that also applies this week. And you know what? It's not the Eagles. I actually forget who it is.
So you're asking, what's the question you're asking now?
Okay, team that won less games than the opponent in the previous season and are favored at home by 3.5 or more points.
Favorite at home or anywhere?
So
Just
look
at
at
home.
favorites.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and they had fewer wins than their current opponent in the
Right.
previous season.
Right. I can right off the bat would be Jacksonville, who won 1 game, was in week 1, but they're on the road. And
They're on the road. I think the Eagles would be in that same camp too. There is a team that qualifies, and I apologize for not knowing that off the top of my
Well, I
head.
can probably tell you. I don't have to look at. I don't.
Yeah, we just
forget
have to
who
look
it
at
is.
the lines.
I don't think
Probably.
it'd be very. Go ahead.
I mean, could be New England.
It is New England.
There you go.
Yep.
Listen, you're asking the wrong couple guys. These
Yep.
are. We'll probably get these. It may take us 2
Well,
guys. We'll probably
I
get
mean,
these.
no offense, Tom. I did start out with elementary questions, and we'll
should.
build from here. Okay, we'll build from here.
You should stop right now before you embarrass us.
I didn't want to give you the Jeopardy questions right away. I mean,
These aren't Jeopardy questions.
well, this next one is. I mean, this is this is right out of the SDQL, which
That would be
perished.
NRBQ.
It perished on September 1.
All right.
It does not exist anymore.
What doesn't?
SDQL.
And that is
Killer sports database. I have no
I
idea
gotcha.
why.
Well,
But I thought in the honor of the memorial, I would use some code to celebrate it, because it was a pretty good tool.
all
Could
right.
have been a massively great tool, but it still was a good tool. So this is week 1.
Right.
And the team in the previous season, that's what TPS is,
Right.
the sum of their playoff games, and PO, believe it or not, it stands for playoff, was 0.
Okay.
So they did
All right.
not make the playoffs. And they're playing an opponent who did make the playoffs because PO is greater than 0. So they played
PO
at least
stands for.
one
Does this
game.
PO stand for playoff too?
Does this what?
Does this PO stand for playoff too?
It does. It actually
Okay.
does. That's very good, Tony. You're catching
Thank-
on. You are
thank you.
catching on, buddy.
They're gonna call
And
me
it's
for
a-
Jeopardy.
And this is the one that I believe Ralph Michaels touched upon from what I heard. And it's week 1, and it's a divisional game. Since 2000, this has hit 75% against the spread. I think Ralph's was equally as strong, and I think, we can double check this, but I'm almost positive it was teams that won 6 or fewer games the previous season against a divisional foe.
Uh huh. You mean
It
6
was
total
It
games?
was like 68% against the spread. So this is basically another interpretation, another way to kind of do the same thing.
Where does that come up in the code here? So I apologize because I'm getting kind of
So
lost. here.
T would be team, P
Right.
previous season, sum,
Right.
playoff games,
Okay.
0. So the team we're talking about did not make the playoffs.
Okay.
The
Go
team they're
ahead.
playing
Uh huh.
did make the playoffs and played at least one game because playoffs is greater than 0. So they had to play at least one.
Play at least one what game? What game?
One playoff game. So
Okay. Well, if you make the playoffs, you're gonna play one game, right?
that's correct. That's what the PO greater than 0 is.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
it's week 1 of the current season.
Uh-huh.
DIV is divisional matchup.
Okay.
So a shortcut. And since 2000, these parameters have hit 75% winners.
So we're picking a non-playoff team playing a team that was a
in the
playoff
playoffs.
team.
Yep.
Okay. And
In the same division.
in the same division.
Yep.
And who? So we're supposed to tell you who these 2 teams are.
Yeah, I think there's actually 2 games. So divisional game.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Let's see. What are the divisional games?
Miami and New England would be the first thought I would have. One that made the playoffs, one that didn't. Divisional games. New England did not make the playoffs. Miami
That's
did.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And so, I guess my next question would be: so, what's it saying about this game?
That you would bet on the team that did not make the playoffs.
Okay, very good. Okay, I agree with that right there off the bat with New
Yep.
England and Miami.
And then if you tweak it to be -3.5 or greater, it gets even better.
Yeah, well, this one may get to. I don't think they're going to come off three, but it's obviously it went to 3, and the Sharps didn't buy Miami. It's now it was 2.5 2 days ago. Now we're seeing 3 -20, -20,
Right.
-19, -16. So what we're seeing is it is only Thursday. They could still maybe, hopefully, might see a hook come somewhere, or essentially right now, if they do want the dog, they can get them. They can get that 3 points with no juice.
It's true.
Yeah.
Just double checking the list too, because I think that was the only one. It is. That's the only one.
Okay. Just see now. There's your Jeopardy question. We got that one too.
Yeah. So that's our little test of.
You don't want to put this.
Who
in
am I
archives,
talking about? That I think I've been looking for a title for this segment. Like, who am I talking about?
Who is? What team?
Who am I gossiping about? That would be better. Or maybe not. But anyway, I thought it was interesting, especially the first one, the Super Bowl loser.
Yeah.
That's the hangover, and they play Cleveland, and then we have another angle that supports Cleveland. And needless to say, that's one of the games I am really starting to become attractive to. And if either one of you have any information that supports that, that's great. Or goes
Cleveland?
against it and talks me off the cliff, because I think it's a game that you sprinkle the money line a little bit.
What, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say
I
this.
know,
I don't.
it's insane.
Your numbers like on extra rest, those kind of things that we just talked about a little bit.
Yep.
You need to take Andy Reid out of that mix, and the numbers even get better because listen, no coach better off a bye than Andy Reid. No coach better off extra rest than Andy Reid. In fact, with the Chiefs in Week 1, he's 4-1, both straight up and against the spread.
Well, let's see what that does. I can sort it by team, I believe.
So, I mean, Andy Reid wasn't horrible when he was with Philly. I think that would make him 18-15. It wasn't horrible. He was 7-7, I think, with the Philly in Week 1 against the number in his career. And I'm guessing, just because I've read it somewhere, and I don't. My memory is not quite as good as it used to be.
Let's see what we get here. All right, I'll have to do this. Well, this little brain of mine has been running pretty slow today. Any day now.
Also, I will say something to you. Those are the thing of season total. Maybe still contemplating some futures. And since we're on the Andy Reid and the Chiefs Super Bowl hangovers, Andy Reid in his 19 seasons has exceeded the consensus closing season total for his teams. He's gone over 14 of 19 times.
Yep. You bring up a good point, because he is a guy that it's a great conversation piece, because he's been so good at it.
Yeah.
Now has the market overpriced it?
Well, if they were going to overprice it,
they want to go the other way.
Well, they overpriced. If they were going to overprice it during his run in Philadelphia, which was he was a contender, always a contender. Didn't ever win the big game in Philly, but he had plenty of Listen, Philly's a major market, and it's going to be unusual that major markets they're not overpriced, that they're not inflated to some degree. successful teams are typically inflated.
Yep. Okay, that's a good segue here. Is Tampa Bay overrated tonight based on the line?
No. Well, here's why they're not. They could be. Listen, here's the deal. How about this? Let me throw you a couple things. Tampa Bay is healthy. They returned 22 starters. How many starters are there? 22. And here's the deal. And it was in a first-year scheme with a quarterback that, as the season went along, slowly became more involved with the play calling. If you watch Tampa Bay first 8 games, you'll find that Brady didn't audible much. Everything he got came in from the sideline from Arians. But as the season progressed, not only did the defense get better. Now there's some underlying peripherals. I've talked to some guys who are very sharp that said, listen, they weren't very good against the pass in the second half of the season. Well, but they were number one against the run. So, there's some numbers that you have to adjust to. If you're number one against the run, typically there's a pretty good reason why and you're winning. There's a good reason why you haven't been the best in the league against the pass, is because guess what? They're throwing the kitchen sink at you. Okay, but here you have 22 starters returning, an offensive line returning. Tom Brady's going to be basically right now. He is the offensive coordinator this season. Okay, they added a receiver that's decent. They're full. They are healthy, and what they also did was they've added a back. One thing that Tom Brady did not have last year was a running back that was a capable check down. And I can promise you that the one thing the one thing I have a problem with is this, and that is, so Mike McCarthy's defense stunk, right? So what did he do? He went out and grabbed the Atlanta Falcons coach, who was a DC. That was his history as a DC, right?
Yep.
Okay. His history as a DC, a defensive coordinator. So he gets fired. So what's he do? His defense stinks, and he hires the head coach from one of the worst defenses in the last half decade. The worst. The worst.
He might be cerebral, though, Tony.
Here's the icing, guys. The biggest meltdown in Super Bowl history. Who was it? It was Atlanta. And who was the damn quarterback? Tom Brady. And here we are in week 1. So
it's redemption time then.
Redemption is for cartoons and fantasy.
I think there was a movie called Redemption, wasn't there?
Oh, well, I know this. If you're a bullet and you're facing a bulletproof vest and you don't go through the first time, you say, "Listen, it's redemption time." Well, bullet, you a bitch. You ain't getting through.
What do you think about this, Rob?
That's a lot to have to think about.
Well, I mean, is any of that inaccurate?
Well, I don't know how much Dan Quinn had his hands on the Atlanta defense. I know this.
After 5 years, Rob, to interrupt you, he sure as hell should have then.
If you go back to their last, because I did this work, their last 6-7 games of the season last year, Atlanta, when Raheem Morris took over as the DC, that defense was good. The only team that got to them in 6 games or 7 games was Tampa. Otherwise, they held everybody under 23 points.
What were their opponents? Give me a list. Do you know who they were off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Because that matters. I know
one was New Orleans.
Okay.
Well, you know what? It's easier for me to get it on the computer than to go back to because I got a pile of friggin' notes 5 inches thick.
That's okay. I'll look it up too. But go ahead. Finish your dialogue. I apologize.
So, I mean, when Dan Quinn was with Seattle, and that's really where I go. Now, the reason why he's hired is because they're buddies. Let's make that perfectly clear. Dan Quinn's hired because he and Mike McCarthy are buddies. All right. When you go back, there's a relationship there between the two. You go back to articles when the hiring happened, and that's highlighted in those articles. But when he was with Seattle, if he brings that type of defense to them, and again, this doesn't apply to week 1. I'm not applying it to tonight because he's got new pieces all over the place. He takes over a shitty defense that he's in charge of fixing. And if you think he's going to fix it tonight against Tom Brady in this core, then, you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I guess, a super fan. But I think over the course of
right. Yeah.
I think, two of their linebackers, guys, believe it or not, from what I read, two of the linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith from Notre Dame, won't be starting tonight. They're replaced by rookies, Micah Parsons, and I'm missing the other kid's name right now. And it's not because Vander Esch and Jalen Smith can't play. It's because the other two outplayed them in preseason. Right. And, they're looking for speed, and they're looking for secondary help. I think that their pass rush is okay. But, again, none of this is applicable to tonight. You just can't apply this to tonight. You can say 7 weeks from now, Dan Quinn may have this defense, because what they coached in Seattle, what he won with, is thoroughly different than what Mike Nolan ran out here in Dallas.
I think it applies. I think it applies, Robin.
Well, in a negative way. Yeah, exactly. In a negative way, you think. Right. I was talking positive. But you're right. It applies in a negative way because it's the same as we talk about college all the time, right? When we talk about college system changes and are they going to get it in week one, most of us think, no, that's a detriment. And it's probably the same here. In order to beat this team tonight, just my estimation, in order to beat Tampa Bay tonight, they have to outscore them. And can you outscore them without the guy that Ezekiel Elliott, and remember, this is Ezekiel Elliott, one of the best players on offense, the guy they're missing, he calls the best player on their offense. Not Dak Prescott.
Exactly right.
Not any of the receivers.
Right.
Zach Martin is the best player. Most valuable. 637 pass attempts last year. He allowed 3 sacks. Him alone, 3 sacks on 637. That's how valuable the guy is. Tony, you pointed out how well they run behind him. I'll point out how protected they are throwing behind him. And let's talk about whatchamacallit for a second here. Oh, God, how come I'm losing the defensive coordinator's name now? No. Tampa's. Not Raheem Morris.
I'll tell you in a second here.
Oh my God.
I know who it is. It's
off of the Rex Ryan tree.
Yeah.
And blitz happy. And he'll blitz up the middle every single play if he has to. If he thinks it's going to work, he's going to come inside. And where do quarterbacks hate the pressure? Todd Bowles. There you go.
Man, you stole some thunder. You're right. Listen, you don't think they're not going to attack that part of the offensive line and come after a guy who's listen, reports are he's not even 100%.
Right. There's some that say that still.
Back up 1 second for me, if I can interrupt. I have Zach Martin playing right guard, which is not his usual position.
It is his usual position.
It is his usual position. Well, he's listed as COVID-19, and we know that Brandon Knight is out, who is their left tackle, right?
They're moving center to the right guard, which would be, or at least was going to start at center, who is Coving. It's okay, but go on.
Well, anyway, you got a guy named Tyrone Smith now.
Yes.
He's been their
first-round
best
pick in 2011.
He didn't play one game last year, by the way. Not one game.
First-round pick in 2011 is what I have him listed as. Left guard is Connor Williams. Second-round pick in 2018.
Yep.
Then we have Tyler Biadasz, I guess is his name. I'm not familiar. I have him playing center. 4th-round pick in the 20 draft. And then I have Zach Martin listed as right guard, but he's listed as COVID-19. So I don't know if that's accurate or not in the database.
Well,
that's thoroughly accurate. He's not playing. That's
right.
thoroughly
Jerry
accurate.
Jones
He's out for COVID.
So
Jerry
the backup
Jones
is Brandon Knight.
He might play. I'm sorry?
The backup, the way the database reads right now, would be Brandon Knight at that position. So who the hell is going to play right guard?
Right.
That's
they have
incorrect.
to switch
Brandon
Connor McGovern over.
That's right. McGovern is playing guard. Right guard.
So he's the backup of the left guard.
Yeah. They have to make that. That's the point of the whole thing is that, where Dallas is concerned, it's troublesome. They knew it. And Jerry Jones was wishful thinking on Monday that he could clear two tests within 48 hours of the game, but the head coach knew he couldn't do it, and he can't do it. So now that's a humongous hole. When you're talking about, especially back to Todd Bowles for a second, quarterbacks hate pressure up the middle. From the sides, you can feel it. You can get away from it. But when it comes right up the middle, up the gut. So they're going to have to roll Dak Prescott. They're going to have to do something. I'm sure they've known this for 3 days, just like we have. We've known there's a problem there for 3 days. So
Tony
game plan
Pollard,
changes.
Are they going to run? Are they going to set up, an I back formation?
Who?
And
Dallas?
have Dak under center, and then roll them out. I mean, how do they do the shotgun without getting?
Well,
they're
doesn't really
going to
matter.
bring 2 guys through that gap.
Again, this is what I'm saying to you is, listen, this is not a good situation for Dallas tonight. It's not. And not only that, they're going to have a full packed house in Tampa celebrating the Super Bowl win.
And again, if Dallas is capable, a crowd emotion eventually wears off. If Dallas is capable, the crowd will get quiet. But if Tampa Bay strikes for 14 right away, that crowd won't shut up all night. But it's tough for Dallas. Again, his own teammates call him the best player on offense, period. End of story. And that's a talented offensive line. I mean, before Tyron Smith got hurt, for about 6 or 7 years, he's Hall of Fame caliber. The last 3 years, he's been hurt and out of that lineup quite a bit. What he is now, a little bit questionable, but if he's even 85%, John, just to put it, to make it where you could get it real easy is Jason Peters at tackle for the Eagles was a all-pro tackle for years. And when he came to the Eagles, he still had all-pro capabilities, but then the injuries got even worse, and eventually it erodes. When he was healthy, he was okay, but not quite the same player. And I think that's where Tyron Smith sits right now. He gets beaten by outside rush a lot, and Tampa's got linebackers that run like the wind. I mean, all you have to do is remember back to the Super Bowl with
and listen, the Chiefs had one hole really on that offensive line, one big hole, and they couldn't plug it. It doesn't matter what they did, they couldn't stop Tampa Bay. And that typically, and Rob, you're right, typically, look at his numbers. Mahomie is better outside the pocket than he is in the pocket. Right. He's better on the run than he is, and he's still you give Todd Bowles what he deserves, and he deserves a lot of credit. And I am absolutely 100% confident that he's licking his chops that tonight at home in front of a crowd that's going to celebrate a Super Bowl victory on their home field. He's gonna bring the kitchen sink and apologize for it later.
Yeah,
I just thought of a specific play to watch tonight, and let's see if this is a good analysis. Let's say it's second or third down. Dallas is on the weak side of the field. Well, let me think this through. The right guard is the hole, correct?
Well, the whole damn offense.
That's what they're filling.
Okay, so let's say they're, if Dallas is going right to left on your television screen, they're going to be, weak side is going to be at the top of the screen, obviously. Mm-hmm. So what the play by Tampa Bay will be is not to attack that weakness there. They're going to use the sideline as an extra defender and bring a linebacker and a safety, I bet. And the safety would be Winfield. And outside linebacker is Shaquille Barrett, right? Those 2 guys are going to seal Prescott in, and there'll be no threat for a vertical route whatsoever. It'll be more of a threat of a ball thrown out of bounds or a sack.
Well, if you watched the Super Bowl last year, they didn't just attack. They didn't just attack the left tackle. They didn't just listen. What they did was they did everything. Andy Reid's a good play caller. Bieniemy,
one of the best.
His his student is very capable of saying, Andy, I think this, and guess what? Andy listens. But they outguessed him, and there's nothing Andy could do. Nothing to do. They could not. They didn't score a touchdown. This Mahomes did not. The Chiefs didn't score a touchdown in the biggest stage of the year. So what who on God's green earth believes that something's going to be different tonight against a Dallas offense that even when Prescott was healthy, they were miserable last year. They couldn't outscore their defense.
You walk in here and you steal everything I was about to say. But to your point,
It's
because
okay
it's
to
all
repeat
true.
it.
It's all true. Todd
It's not
Bowles, number
plagiarism.
one. Again, when you fall off the Rex Ryan tree, it's not just about blitz. They're the masters of disguised blitz.
Yes,
You got to walk to the line and figure out where it's coming from. And Mahomes and the Chiefs, for 4 quarters last year, didn't know where it was coming from. All Pat Mahomes knew was that when he got the ball, he was running for his life.
Yes.
And again, to your second point, Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid, are you going to get any better at play calling or adjusting?
No.
They see what's going on. They're going to adjust. I mean, Kellen Moore could be great. Kellen Moore is not Andy Reid. So the OC for Dallas is not going to figure out things any faster than what Kansas City did. Although I'll say this. I will say this. If you're Kellen Moore and you spent the last 6 months in film room studying what they did to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you've got an advantage, right? Andy Reid didn't have that advantage. He had 2 weeks prep. They were still kind of thinking maybe they'd get one lineman back. They never got anybody back for that game. So maybe the length of time to study and game plan is in favor of Kellen Moore here. But still, I just don't know. You know,
I think
Andy
that's a
Reid,
good point. I think it's a good point, Rob. But you have to also believe that with that advantage are they capable of executing what Moore wants to execute? I'm not sure they. Here's my second part of this: the variant, the other COVID variant, and that's is a quarterback that hadn't thrown a live pass or seen live action in a year.
I'm just shaking my head because I was wondering when any of the networks were going to mention that fact. And
Well, they should-
to my knowledge, they still haven't. They're slinging it all over the practice field.
Yeah, it makes a difference. They really none of their starters played in the preseason, too. These Dallas team.
No comparison.
Yeah, he held them all back. And listen, guys, if you want to slow pass rush down, you slow pass rush down with quick hit. They've got capable receivers. Let's face it, C.D. Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and these guys could take a quick slant 60 yards in a heartbeat against a blitz. So, again, it's going to come down to – and Dak Prescott doesn't have 100% shoulder to complete a slant or a pick play or any of those things that could go the distance with these guys. Tony Pollard out of the backfield, draw plays, whatever.
Is his shoulder bad or is his ankle bad still?
It depends who you ask. It depends.
Yeah,
who you
exactly.
Ask, right?
But if I'm believing that his ankle isn't 100%, then I'm doing exactly what you said, Rob. Quarterbacks hate, and that is the A gaps are going to get just murdered by my linebacker. My linebackers are free safety.
Yep.
They're coming, and not just
there's no threat.
not just 50% of the time. Every friggin' play.
You have to leave extra protection in. Guys got to stay in. Tight ends got to stay in. But we saw Devin White, the middle linebacker for Tampa, just raise havoc with that team. And, Tony, to that point about the ankle, that's what was wrong with Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Mahomes was off the bad ankle that he injured in the Cleveland game a couple weeks earlier, right? So he wasn't running real well.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot stacked against Dallas here. I think that's if we come full circle with where we started, that's where it lands. There's a lot stacked against Dallas. Is it enough to lay 9 with Tampa now?
Well, here's my point. I'll say this.
If you got in early, you were great.
I'm saying this. I'm going to say right now, either you're on Tampa or you're not in this game.
Oh, I agree 100%.
And you can look at the move right now. Public, they're on Tampa. But this game has some sharp money on Tampa, and you can see it when the sharp money had a chance to do some buybacks on some key numbers. They just didn't do it. It was not done. And those are really strong indicators for me early in the season when you cross a key number and it doesn't get – not only does it not get bought back, it continues to steam.
Yeah, well, it's – I mean, at this point now it's teaser protection too, right? When they get to 9 and 9.5.
Yes. Absolutely adjusted. Somebody said something about that, Rob, to me. Why isn't it already there for teaser? I said because the majority of teasers don't come on a Monday and Tuesday. They come on game day. So they don't typically make that adjustment until game day. And now you see it today. You're right. Absolutely correct.
And it's funny listening to non-bettors that bet talk about it because, and I won't name the name, but a major national radio show.
Oh,
host
I know that radio.
that narrows it
yesterday, talking about my website moved this game from 7.5 to 9. What the hell's wrong with them? How does it move that much that quick? And I'm thinking, dude, it's simply protection against teasers. They don't want you to be able to tease under 3. That's right. Those games hardly ever. And this one actually did. This one went to 8, 8.5. I'm wondering why they even wasted time on 8, 8.5. Why they didn't just go from 7.5 to 9 to begin, like they do on most weeks, right? If you see 7.5, the next move is 9. It's never 8, 8.5. But now it's all 9s everywhere, and the money is flooding right now. The last 2.5 hours, oh dear Lord. Yeah. I'd like to just be standing there collecting it because the halftime numbers going up.
Yeah, I have a good number in this game.
Yeah, you have that July number.
If it gets to 10, they don't call as Gabe as Sports Grid. The guys call me the hedgehog. I will be hedging almost every dime of it.
Yeah, you have that 6.5 from July.
And
That's
I
what
want that. I can get a side out on a key number and win on a key number. Mm-hmm. I'm in.
Absolutely. Dallas is more than capable of backdoor.
Yeah, they got to play the game. The game has to be played, and funnier things have happened on games we've talked exactly like this about. There's, it makes no sense. Well, guess what? It doesn't make any sense that the Royals gave up 9 effing runs in the bottom of the 8th inning last night, even their bad bullpen, to Baltimore. There was a fly ball that was just, if you saw that replay, did you see that one?
I did.
It's like, dude, I said, I don't know how much they offered you, you bitch, but they didn't offer you enough. I'm going to talk about you till the day I die.
Oh, God. That was worse than pathetic, whatever. Horrid.
If this game tonight is 31-17 late, Dallas is fully capable of sticking that meaningless touchdown, 31-24. And then, Tony, both ends of that bet, 6 and 10, are in the door. Cash them both.
But you know what the good news is that Tony's the type of guy that he won't show up on the show tomorrow and have his chest puffed out and say, "Bam, I'm good."
I would never say a word about it. I won't say a word about it.
He'd be very humble about it. I mean that seriously.
Rob is a lot like this. Here's the deal, is that as soon as you start, telling somebody how long that your penis is, you have to tell them as soon as it gets cut off, too. You cannot say, listen.
Tony, that's a contrarian statement because any idiot that does say that to anyone, the reality is much smaller than you can even imagine.
Maybe, but what I'm saying is, as soon as you start pimping your record as you'd being the best thing since sliced bread, you better tell them when you're a burnt, soggy piece of shit toast. That you better tell them.
Right.
He's on a roll tonight, folks.
Ask Barry Bonds, whose penis size was described in a courtroom by his ex-girlfriend.
It took an hour.
Well, let me tell you something about Barry Bonds.
So what's the deal with nothing better than sliced bread? Wouldn't it be? I mean, what's the difference between slicing your own bread and have it already sliced?
Something. There's a you don't because guess what?
What's so good about it?
Well, listen, when you're on the run,
you can't make a sandwich with a loaf of bread.
I'll cut my own.
You don't have time to slice bread and clean up the crumbs and shit like that. You don't have time.
Well, if I wanted to, I want to have the time to do it. If it's already sliced, I don't even have that option anymore.
You know what? Next best thing to Miss America paying you to have sex. I could use that line.
I don't even understand that one either. I don't think, but that's all right.
I
will ponder.
I'll come up with some geeky Wall Street saying that maybe that has golf involved, that has NRBQ involved, and you'll understand. Then I'll be more in your orbit, which is you're way too smart for me. I should have known better. I got to get something different than sliced bread. Bread pretty much. Everyone in my orbit, in my dimension, understands how good sliced bread is.
How about buying a new car and the dealer actually fills your gas tank? What could be better than that?
If I'm not even driving that car off the lot if the tank's not filled, that's a given.
Well, I had this from I just want to read this to add fuel to the fire. This is courtesy of a resource I think we all use, Pro Football Focus. Okay, so losing all pro right guard Zach Martin to COVID-19 isn't good. We already determined that. So it says here, and this is the part that I don't quite get, but the part I do get is Connor McGovern is the replacement, ranked 26th out of 38 qualifying right guards in their pass blocking grade database last season. So you have an all-pro being replaced by the 26th rank out of 38.
But throw that last year out. How about go to 2009, get his grade from 19. Don't listen. There's a lot. I don't think you can use any grade from 2020 on the Dallas front line. That's true. I just think you have to throw it out.
That's true. I'll look at that in a second.
Okay.
But it says here, despite the loss, Dallas is still likely better suited to hold off Tampa Bay pass rush that recorded pressure on 37.1% of their snaps in 2020 than they were last season.
Who wrote that?
The expected return.
Who wrote that?
But they have to be better, guys, because you just picture back to Ben DiNucci and these guys running. They were missing 3 or 4 linemen last year. They're not missing 3 or 4 tonight. They're missing their best. But losing 1 instead of 3 is better shape. I mean, it's all relative. That article makes it sound like they're in good shape, which they're not. But they're in better shape, relatively speaking. They're in better shape than they were last year.
So they have Tyrone Smith and Collins coming back, right? They're starting.
Right. Well,
their replacements last year were dead last in all football.
And you saw it. I mean, Andy Dalton all of a sudden became a joke of a quarterback after, having playoff season with Cincinnati. Then he became a public joke because he's running for his life every single down behind a preseason third quarter offensive line. Then Ben DiNucci, same thing. I mean, they didn't. It was horrible for Dallas last year.
It was a replay of Carson Wentz.
Ezekiel Elliott had nowhere to go. I mean, we're
going
to find out.
That happens when you guess what? It happens also when you become obviously predictable, and when you're playing like Dallas played last year, for the most part behind. Listen, I don't care how good you are. And they weren't that good. You become so predictable that it's demoralizing. What Dallas went through, and especially I wrote today that it's difficult to live up. It's difficult to be America's team and be who the Dallas Cowboys are right now. It's very tough here.
And I think, real quick, guys, it speaks to what the NFL is. It's a league of depth. If you don't have depth, I don't care how good your starting 5 is. How many times does a starting 5 last 17, 18 weeks? It just doesn't. And you know what? The teams where it does are teams that win Super Bowls because their starting 5 offensive linemen were there every single week, but it doesn't happen. And it's amazing what Belichick did in New England, but that's the perfect example of just creating enough depth on the, too deep to be able to survive injuries. And Dallas couldn't survive offensive line injuries. They were replacing all pros with all garbage. And it doesn't
you're right,
work.
Rob. And here's the deal. I'm 6-2. I was 6-2 in the preseason. I played more preseason games this year than ever. I've never played more than 4 or 5 ever. And I probably could have played more. And there's a week less. Right. But I'm pretty successful in preseason. I don't play a lot. When I do, there's 2 things that I only handicap 2 things. 2, as Rob described. I did handicap depth because most of the time that's what you're playing. Your depth is what's playing 3/4 of the game. And secondly, motivation or scheme or coach. And they all get bunched in the same bread sack. And we slice them the same damn way. And they become sliced. There was some transparent coaches. McVay said, I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to play my stars. I'm not trying. Well, guess what? I didn't think the adjustments were large enough by the odds makers this year, and I got paid. We don't get that. Doesn't happen in the regular season. Preseason. No. A lot of people say, "How can you bet the preseason?" Well, you bet the preseason like you bet the regular season. Typically, you have a different form of handicap. Not that we shouldn't handicap depth during the regular season because we will. A lot of people don't know we will because they're not. The starters are gone. And
you
Rob's
pay attention.
Completely accurate.
You have to pay attention, guys. Yes, I mean, a lot of people think the preseason is garbage, and I get it. It's not starting 22 football. But, again, Look at the scores in the second halves, and they'll tell you a tale of who's got some depth and who doesn't. So in week 9, when that how long was the injury report last year? Jesus, you read the NFL injury report; it's like 17 pages for 32 teams.
It's a legal document.
Rod, tomorrow I want to ask you guys something. Chris, Las Vegas Chris, who may be listening right now, because he likes to listen and then he likes to critique everything we do.
He was on yesterday.
I know. He stopped by last night. And
in the garage, or because he wasn't in the garage on the show.
I'm rebuilding. I'm rebuilding the garage. Doing it myself. That's why
he was sitting in paradise last night.
Who?
On the show, he had palm trees.
Well, he had palm
him
trees in his background and whatnot yesterday when he was on.
And there was no sand.
There'll be palm trees I planted for him, by the way.
That's what we figured. You were taking good care of him.
So I guess he found his checks to deposit from the Circa, and he's getting landscaping done now.
Listen, I don't ask him about that stuff. I don't. I'm never. I will. And he will dispute this, but I will give. At this point in my life, I will give him money before I'll take money from that B. I don't want to hear it. None of it. Don't want to hear it. Too old for that. Yes. Okay. Here's. I want to talk about this.
Yes.
Offensive lines. I wrote the most important position in football are the trenches, not quarterback,
Absolutely.
not your rush end. It is not the core. Now the quarterback is a product of the offensive line. I don't give a I don't care if God playing quarterback. If the devil is playing on your offensive line, God's not going to be successful. I guarantee it.
You're
and
100%
this
right.
team is not cohesive. This Dallas team is not. You have to be cohesive. The offensive line, what's important, listen, guys who are listening to the audience, if you're going to do your own self-handicapping, find an offensive line where all 5 starters were fairly healthy for the most part last year, and they're all there again this year in front of their quarterback. And look for is there an advantage against the team they're playing, and what's the handicap? Does it make sense? Those are the things I look for in week 1, week 2, week 3. Early on, defenses are ahead of offenses. Don't let nobody can convince me otherwise. They're ahead of offenses, especially offenses who have quarterbacks that haven't thrown a damn pass in a year.
I'll piggyback what you're saying, Tony. Go back to last year. It took Tampa Bay 11 or 12 weeks to find the right offense. They were picking guys up off of and eventually they picked up a guy that Tom Brady knew and played behind personally. Yep. And why were they good the last 6 games of the year? Better because the first 12, 13 games of the year, you didn't think that was a Super Bowl team. Nobody did. If you did, congratulations. But nobody did. And all of a sudden, that offensive line, they put the pieces in the right place. The offense clicked. At a perfect time, right? So they weren't healthy the entire season, but they got better, and they found their cohesiveness, as you're saying, Tone. 13, 14 weeks into the season, and boom, there's your Super Bowl winner. So that's what it took. And it's the one pet peeve I have. I mean, and I don't want to get off on a rant because I can't stand this.
I want to hear it. Go.
When the chat room wants you to.
People on television want to tell us that Tom Brady's won 7 Super Bowls. Well, Tom Brady didn't win 7 Super Bowls. To your point, Tony, it's not the quarterback that wins if it was, John Elway would have won 6. If it was, but it's not. Without Adam Vinatieri, Tom Brady doesn't win a couple. Without an interception, John, I probably went through this with you the other day.
Quinn.
I mean, it's
I wouldn't
incredible.
be 18-5 in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that right now.
How they want to pigeonhole NFL team success and point the finger to one specific guy, and this is the guy. And if there's any team sport, basketball is a semi-team sport. You could win with 1 or 2 guys in basketball. You're not winning with one guy in football. I don't care who he is. Tom Brady happens to be considered one of the greatest of all times. He played in really, really good situations. Not wide receiver speaking, but really, really good situations.
Prepared
protection.
Teams.
Preparation.
And well coached. Listen, prepared.
Absolutely.
Prepared for the worst.
If Aaron Rodgers had half a defense, he might have 3 now. But he played with some lousy defense.
I will say this, though.
I want to bring that up. We talk about Martin. Let's talk about David Bakhtiari. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, left tackle. And guess what the record is without without David.
It's hard.
It's not good.
How are we
wins,
going
right?
to assess this? Listen, Green Bay's going into this. I know the Saints team. I can't back the Saints team right now until I know more about what they're going to be doing offensively. Who's going to, I just can't do it.
Right.
I can't do it because of some of the injuries they have. Thomas, listen, whether Thomas catches a ball or not, what his value is on that offense as far as a distraction and a decoy is astronomical. It's just stupid how important he is. How important is that to Aaron Rodgers?
Hugely.
It's super
I will say
important.
this though.
These guys don't like not being protected. Why did Dan Marino give out Rolex watches after the season to his offensive line? Because he's not Dan Marino without those guys, period.
Why did one of the best running backs for a 2 or 3 year stint in football, who wasn't the best running back, not only did that, he gave out like $100,000 checks to his offensive line, to a Hall of Fame offensive line. Who am I speaking of? Priest Holmes.
Emmitt Smith.
Average.
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith.
Priest Holmes.
Priest Holmes. Okay.
Average running back at Texas. Hell, he didn't even make the Baltimore team. That Hall of Fame offensive line, under the guidance and the choreographed offense of Dick Vermeil, pretty damn good for Priest Holmes.
And we know the legitimate argument that's always made amongst people old enough to have watched him play is that if Barry Sanders ran behind that Cowboys offensive line, Barry Sanders is your all-time leading rusher, not Emmitt Smith. If Emmitt Smith had the Lions offensive line, forget about it. Because Barry Sanders had
he's considered. I know guys will say, listen, no questions asked, Barry Sanders is the best ever. No questions asked. And I say, well, he wasn't a power running back. He said, they'll tell me. And guys I respect for what Barry Sanders had and what he did, the best. You're right, Rob.
I was too little to see enough.
Yeah.
But it always comes down to he and Gale Sayers for me. I
Wow.
mean, I was too little to understand how great Gale Sayers was.
I was in Gale Sayers' basement watching films. He had every play. Gale Sayers, listen, Gale Sayers was not an outgoing. He was not. He wasn't. He was very socially. His son, who I knew, was our age, and we lived close by. Gale lived in the Gulf side. I lived across the tracks in the ghetto side, and but we were friends. And I'm telling you, Gale was pretty proud of himself. And he had every tape. His son, we would go in the basement. I would just sit there, and his son, my friend, would get tired of me. I said, "Man, I don't know about you. If you can't appreciate what he was as a running back, then you don't understand how hard that was to do."
And you know
Too soon, right? If they had the ACL surgeries that they have today, his career would have been extended. But I mean, to me, it always comes down to those two guys.
I have a railroad track that long. I was about 3-5 years too early. I was in a full length cast for almost 6 months because of mine ACL. Now it's a piece of cake, right?
Right.
It ruined a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, no question.
You know what I think too, like for the chat room, a lot of the guys are our age. From what I'm getting to know them. And first of all, the appreciation for all the shout outs saying that they love the show when Rob, Tony, and John are on together. And I guess Jeff's referring to the three of us. I mean, it could be other Rob, Tonys, and Johns. I guess
we need to get him some therapy. That's
for those that are, I would say, under the age of even 40. And you have not seen the movie Brian Song?
Oh,
yeah. You need to get
skip
that
through all the
and
lovey-dovey crap. Skip through the lovey-dovey
Tell your
stuff.
girlfriend, the hell with The Bachelor. Watch something educational, and you will see what Gale Sayers was all about. That is a movie that brings tears to my eyes even now.
Yeah, I can't watch
Linda
it.
Lovelace.
I mean, every time.
Brian Song. It's all about Brian Piccolo.
I think Linda Lovelace would have been a great. She would have been great in Brian Song. And a hell of a lot better movie.
Well, I mean, it was back in the day where that was state of the art, man.
Yeah.
But you know what I loved about that movie, though, and I know the chat room will like it too if you've never seen it, is they showed live clips of Gale Sayers. They showed live clip of when he got hurt.
Brian, it was live clips. It was live clips of Brian Piccolo too. Brian Piccolo was no chopped liver,
Right?
Guys.
No way.
No,
He was barely
star
what,
at
100,
Wake Forest,
180 pounds.
and a
But he
really
hit
good running back.
great.
As a fullback, he was amazing.
Yes, he was.
Amazing. And they were roommates too. I mean, it's just such a story.
And the Chicago Bears were they had a decent team. They were a capable team too. It sure helped. Listen, no rookie. Look, was it 6 touchdowns in one game? A rookie?
6
And
against the
then
49ers.
nobody's going to touch that shit. Maybe in this day and age of football, maybe. But we're talking about a time period when it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust, NFL football.
Right. And he was making it 60 yards in a,
What he could do
wind going
laterally.
by you.
It's just amazing how he would never change miles per hour, north, south, east, west, much like Barry Sanders. Gale Sayers was similar, but Gale
He
was bigger.
He was
Very
taller.
Yes. Yeah.
And all you have to do is, go to some of the quotes from the guys that play defense against him and listen to what they have to say about trying to tackle that guy. And there's I forget who had the quote where, they claim he splits himself in two. That type of deal where they couldn't get a hand on him. And he's returning kicks for touchdowns too, guys. He's not just a running back. He's returning kickoffs. He's returning everything. So,
do we know what his nickname was?
He was pretty damn good.
In college, what his nickname was?
The Comet.
Kansas Comet.
Yeah, Kansas Comet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I'm about 6 or 7 years old, Dan. I mean,
Me too,
football,
but I'm in
a little
town. I'm in the
too
town
little.
where he's played football. So trust me.
I
when
wasn't
say-
born, but
I
It
feel
was
like,
only
and Tone, you said you watched a lot of because the Sun has game film. I just feel
Yes.
like they shortchanged the highlights. Like if you watch a highlight package on Gale Sayers, it seems to be the same 6 or 8 highlights over and over and over again. Never anything different.
I saw
you
every game. It was in. Understand this is in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
So 74, 75. This was actually what was it? What was the millimeter? It was actually rolled film.
Still on a reel.
oh,
yeah.
sure, yeah.
Reel. We had to put it into the projector.
Right.
Yep.
Like we watch our home movies on when we were little kids.
And 80% of the chat room just a projector, 8 millimeter.
A real projector that was, and I was always worried when we were loading those things. Always, man, what if we screw this up? Because we screwed up a lot. At my house,
What
we
if the
screwed a
light
lot of
burns
film
out?
up.
Because that light was hot. My dad always had a backup light or two because it would burn out.
Yes.
Well, and I feel
Amazing,
like
amazing.
the same with tape recorders. The tape would always jam.
Oh, always.
Like the film would jam, the tape would jam, and then you got to
Cassette tapes, horrible.
Yeah,
Eight-track,
CDK,
eight-track.
man.
like the
I've
Mission
said this.
Impossible tapes.
That's it.
And this is not an exaggeration for those in the audience that don't know 8-tracks, but I wrecked my 62 Chevy Bel Air. Wrecked it. So what did I have to buy? I didn't have any money. I bought a Volkswagen Bug. And listen, Volkswagen Bugs were $1,999 new. I got one for a couple $100, a 1958 Bug for $200 that ran perfectly. And my whole back seat, 8-track tapes. And there was only about 50 of them.
Oh.
It took up the whole back seat.
I thought he was going to say mushrooms in the back seat. So
No, those were my basement.
Obviously, we've seen some change over
Yes, we
time.
have.
We've seen some change.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, Tony Finn doesn't drive a Bug anymore.
I don't, but I would.
And he
I
gets
did,
the
sure.
music on
By
Spotify.
far. What about the VW
I don't care what I drive.
Rabbit?
I've never cared what I drove. I had a nice Denali, but when I was working in Mexico, I had my nicest car ever. The nicest car I ever had was an XL Denali.
Ooh.
And I think it new was about 80,000. I was cheap. I only gave 60 because it had some hail damage.
Hail damage. That was gunfire.
In Mexico?
Yeah. Here's the deal. With that one. I had an $1,100 a month car payment, and I don't miss that at all.
Yeah, no, that's pretty steep.
That is definitely a top 10
I got no
funniest
car
thing
payments
Rob
now.
Veno ever said just now.
I don't drive anywhere, man. I just call the police. Hey, please come get me.
Well, and John, because the only reason to own a Denali is to traffic illegal substances. There's no other reason to own one of those things. So the hail reference has to be gunfire.
The reason I don't have that Denali is it had secret compartments in the back, and I didn't know that secret compartments were illegal. You can't if there depends. They can dictate what those secret parts. If it's fabricated, it was. Yeah, they took it, and then they thought it was paid for. I said, I paid for it. I said,
So
payments due tomorrow. Payments due tomorrow.
This was ground zero of you learning about extradition, I bet.
Oh no!
Why you know so much
I knew
about
about
it
that
now.
in high school. I was one of my best friends was a sheriff's son. I knew everything back then. It was a small circle there at Little Town. A little town, Lawrence then was 20,000 people. Was all it was, and they had 25,000 students that all left in the summer. In the summer, we didn't like. Listen, that's one thing about Lawrence. All those kids, college kids, coming to town. Us seniors in high school, they thought they owned that town, and it was on. We were crashing their tearing the shit out of those frat houses. And to this day, there's a guy who served special forces, and I'm not going to mention his name, but because he was a sergeant, he'd come back from leave, they'd bust him to private because he never came back clean, ever came back clean from leave. But he would take on 5 to 8 guys at frats, and those guys stood no chance. They would come at him, and he'd say, "Listen, make this fight fair, or it's not going to be good." He's a badass, and we owned that town for about Then I left. I left town because that's what you did when you were in Lawrence. You didn't stick around. If you grew up there, you didn't want to stick around because you understood what the town was. Pretty typical college town. Now they all stay. People don't leave now like they did back then. They would leave for the summer. All of them stay now.
Yep.
So it's 100,000 or 125,000, much different. Same square. At 20,000, the same 1 mile square in Lawrence, same downtown. They won't build a mall in that town. Why won't they? Because they do not want to destroy Mass Street. Mass Street's that 1 mile stretch of where all the kids go, where all the basketball players hang out. Big deal in Lawrence, by the way. Where Roy Williams would go one hamburger joint same day, every week. Where Bill Self can't even go out now, hardly. He gets mobbed.
This slide mentioned Penny just went to 9.5.
Yeah.
Here comes
we should talk a little bit about. I got to go. We got a lot to do here, guys. I really got to go. But I'll tell you this: we should talk about what this offensive line for Green Bay and star left tackle without a star left tackle, what it means. Because have you heard anything, Chris? Got to give credit due. I knew this, but Las Vegas Chris is the one who brought it up to me. He said, "Tony, what are you going to make of this? What do you think? What do you make of this? I mean, look at the numbers." I said, "I don't have to look at the numbers. I know the numbers of when Aaron Rodgers was without DB."
Yeah. And I'll just to that point, Tone, I'll say what I said before. Not that it corrects it entirely, but it softens the blow when you have 6 months of preparation time to figure out how you're going to handle that one spot. And, all the minds get together, the staff, Aaron Rodgers, and how are we going to handle Bakhtari's absence? If it was a Sunday-to-Sunday deal, and we've seen it, when it is a Sunday-to-Sunday deal, it's impactful. And the odds makers don't account for it. There's no change in the line for David Bakhtari.
I mean, there may be a half point. There's not going to be. Listen,
the public doesn't know enough about it.
I've never seen a player get more points. I'll go back to last year's week 1. I had a big play on Denver, and then I suffered a significant injury where I went from being a 2.5 point favorite in week 1 and gave it to my clients, Denver minus the points, to being +3 because of what injury. Quarterbacks rarely account for 5 and 6 points on the line, but who got hurt on the defensive line for Denver last year? And it was significant.
Von Miller.
That's right. 5 and 6 point move for Von Miller.
That's unique. That's unique. Not the norm. That's very, very unique.
And I would have covered this last year. I just told my clients, I said, I don't care. Take the +3. Denver and the mess that they were offensively, 1st and goal from the 1. Don't score, or I cover that game.
Remember it well.
Yep.
Remember it well.
It wasn't that long ago.
I'm not going to mention the sports book, but actually I like the sports book, but they put up these teaser parlays, teaser prop bets, and I have noticed over the last 6 months of sports that when they put these up, it's almost a contrarian result, and I'll give you one right now. Plus 260 that Dak Prescott will throw for 250 or more passing yards and 3 or more touchdowns. Let's go on to the next one. Ezekiel Elliott and Leonard Fournette both rushed for 50 yards. I don't see that one happening either. That's plus 400. I don't see Fournette playing much in the game at all. Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Michael Gallup all to record 50-plus receiving yards at plus 300. That's probably the most reasonable one.
I think so.
That's realistic. But here's the Tom Brady and Dak Prescott both throw for 300 or more passing yards.
That's plus 500. That's plus 800.
Plus 220.
Well, then that's not good enough. I got to have a lot more than that.
Exactly 2 by point.
And Tom Brady may not throw for 300 yards. He may not. They may get a lead, and guess what? It's just handoff, that's dump.
Right. In which case, Leonard Fournette comes into play. True. If that's the scenario.
Yeah.
And then another one that's kind of a laugher to me is Steelers and Eagles both win in Week 1. The price isn't bad though. But
what is it? I want to know.
Plus 900, 9-1.
That's still not good
but
enough.
The Steelers play Buffalo.
Well, yeah, but I listen. I'll say it on the show right now. I'm waiting. I'd love to see that. Every time that's gone to 7, it's been annihilated. The sharps just. Yep. I still like Pittsburgh at 6.5, guys, and I know Rob does. He's talked highly of Pittsburgh already, and he believes they're being undervalued. I think they're undervalued in this game.
But you can't say the same thing for the Eagles.
And you can't say the same thing for the Bills.
No.
And the Bills are one of America's teams right now.
They are, except this is the deal. We don't listen. Most people I know don't like Tomlin. But here's what Tomlin's done since he's been. All he does is win.
Right. He
wins and covers. It's all he does. Especially, how old's Tomlin? He's a baby. He's like 30, 40 years. How old is he? 49? What is he?
Yeah, he's
he was the head coach
in his mid-40s. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
the
youngest head coach
in the last 1,000 years.
All he does is win.
He's just great at preparing a team. I mean, I've always liked him. But I can get the people that come from the other side and say, well, that his in-game X's and O's or decision-making aren't always the best. And you're right.
I agree.
They're always not the best. But as far as having his teams always play for him. That's why when that Antonio Brown locker room stuff got in the way, I was a little surprised that Mike Tomlin didn't cut that off right at the
But it never bothered Tomlin either. He said, you guys don't even talk about it because I got this. He always knew he had this,
Yeah, well. It got into it, then it caused a rift between Roethlisberger and him, and it affects the team a little bit. And I'm just surprised at Tomlin because that's what he's good at. He's good at keeping all 53 with the same exact focus and not having a sort of divided clubhouse.
I like him.
I've always liked him. I think they're sold short this year.
There's never been. It's funny. There's Rooney. There's never really been a Pittsburgh coach I didn't like. I was a huge. Before
Chuck Noll.
Well, after Chuck Noll, I was pretty. I mean, I didn't know Chuck Noll like I knew after Chuck Noll. Those two coaches since then.
Cowher.
I was a big fan of Cowher. Cowher was absolutely a great hire, and I still think he would be a great coach in this era as well right now. But he was also he understood that 100-hour. That was the kind of that morph from when he was with Kansas City as their DC. Great defensive coordinator. Great. And liked him. And I like Tomlin.
There's something to be said for stability, right, Tone? I mean, they've had 3 coaches in like 35, 40. I mean, how many years is it?
And that's, we'll go to a couple of the universities in basketball. How about Coach K, right? I think KU, who had the dean, go all the way back to Naismith. Who invented that? They've had like 7 basketball coaches in 100 years, 120 years.
There's something to be said.
That's crazy, because they had Ted Owens, who was pedestrian, really, it was a great recruiter. But I live next. Ted Owens is a neighborhood too, right? And let's just share. We got a small audience. but Ted, the biggest news in Lawrence, Kansas, from probably was 1969, 70, and 72, right in there, was that I knew that I was keen on the two Owens girls. They were one was a little older, one was a little younger, but they were hot babes. Okay, but here's the deal is that Owen's wife left him for another woman. So that was, in 1970, that's the equivalent it's the equivalent of your wife leaving you for another girl. It's about the most demoralizing thing a man could possibly go through. I mean, now it's, well, why can I just join you two? That's what the man would say now. Can I come on?
We're evolving as a society.
Put me in the middle.
That's right. Yeah. But I remember it was kind of the downside of Owen's career. He kind of,
All right.
Let's go to best bets.
Right.
I guess I'll go last. Tony,
did we win yesterday? How did we do? John, inform the crowd how we did.
We were 2-1. What I wrote down this morning.
Look at us back on track.
Yeah. I don't have.
Did we get off track for a while?
In front of me, but we're 2-1, but we have did Harper to win the MVP at 5-1.
Harper.
Yeah. On top of the time we were trying to remember when I said 12.
Get off the Homer stuff, you.
Hey, I look at the numbers.
Louise.
I'm like those guys from the Dominican Republic in baseball they never saw a fastball.
Billy's not going to make the playoffs. Billy's not going to make the playoffs, and you don't make the playoffs, you're not going to be the MVP. It's not going to happen.
Well, if you go first in best bets and you take the Phillies, John will have to change his best bet for the night.
I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna go first. We're gonna talk about a football game tomorrow night, not tonight.
Okay.
We're talk about a football game tomorrow night.
All right.
We're gonna talk about.
Love it.
We're gonna talk about Big 12 versus Sun Belt.
There you go.
We're gonna talk about the Kansas Jayhawks and the Coastal Carolina Sealiers.
Cantlay. It's a vicious fighting rooster.
I might have changed my mind now. I knew that. Okay. How rare are wins for this Kansas Jayhawks team since for a long time. Guess what? They won last week. 17-14, they beat South Dakota, okay? And Memorial Coliseum, Lawrence, Kansas. Old Memorial still holds the fans rushed the field
for that
at home against an FCS team that they were 11-point favorites against and didn't even cover.
But Tony, that explains why they rushed the field. They all bet on the other team.
They didn't rush the field.
Yeah,
they didn't
the
rush the
boosters
field
were really
with knives
happy.
and clubs. They rushed the field with whiskey bottles and Quaaludes.
Okay.
So I'm telling you that. Okay. So what? How rare is it? The Hawks. They were winless last year in 2020. Winless. Did not win one game. 8 games. 0-8. In 2018, 2019, they were 3-9. Pretty damn good seasons. In 2017, 1-11. Now, in 2016, they were 2-10. Between 2015, 0-12. Between 2011 and 2014, they were 9-39. Do I have to do any math? They have lost 2 straight years in a row, 19 and 20, to Coastal Carolina. Both games, they were touchdown favorites in. Okay?
But not this time.
They are 25-point underdogs.
The market is over-adjusted.
No.
Maybe not.
The market still hasn't adjusted enough.
Yeah.
They have their over-under team wins this year. What was their over-under in team wins this year?
1.5.
1. I found a 1.
I played under 1.5. I know that.
There you go. They got their win. This is a big game. Coastal Carolina, listen, they after 2 years of what they've done, this everybody is going to believe this line's inflated. It's not inflated. Let me tell you right now, KU was outgained by South Dakota. KU gained 210 yards of offense, and they had to score with a minute to go in the game to win. At home, Coastal Carolina by 40 tomorrow night.
Is that the first half or the whole game?
That's the first quarter.
You should go into the Circa and ask for an alternative line, like minus 35.5 or something.
Oh, I'm sure they'll give it. They'll give me one. Of course, they're not gonna give money away. I'm gonna have to earn it.
And what did you say the current
25,
line?
26.
26.
I'm saying it's 25
okay.
or 26. Let me give you the updated line right this second. It is. I'm showing that they've taken it off the board because of it's not fair. It says unfair game.
Wow.
Minus 26.5 is the top number, and you can get 25.5 at Circa right now.
All right, so I'm giving you 25.5.
No. 26.5 is fine.
All right, 26.
The top number. I want no one complaining.
Well, that's true. That's fair.
26.5.
I was just saying the Circa is like you can go far enough without getting pulled over.
No, that's too
Place
far.
it.
Circa. I can take the back roads to Circa, though. I can get there in about 15. I take back roads. Got to go underneath the bridge. Got to throw some couple dollar bills out to the underneath the bridge, kind of rough area. So you got to throw a couple dollar bills out to the homeless so they don't throw shit at your car. And you can go. You'll be there. You can get there. True.
Neat. Well, I guess
I'm there
Rob,
already.
you're on deck. You got the floor, Rob.
Well, I'll be quick. I'll go to baseball, guys. And, Minnesota made a pitching change tonight, but Cal Quantrill for Cleveland has been really, really good for an extended period of time right now.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason to stand in front of that train, especially, and I'm trying to get you the correct number here, John. That's why I'm looking off to the side on the
Albert's
first
been
five.
pretty good, though. I will say that, though.
He's minus a half a run first five.
Yeah.
Minus $1.20 with Quantrill. Like I said, it's been a really good run for him, 6-7 games deep, he's faced some good opponents. It's not against cheap teams. Cal Quantrill.
And Rob, tell him how he's done this. He's not striking out a bunch of guys. He's pitching to the spot. He's commanding and getting soft contact. You're absolutely right. Been really good. Really good.
And I think, a lot of times with these guys, he is the son of a major leaguer, right? Paul Quantrill was his dad. Paul Quantrill was a pitcher, and it's always nice to be able to get. And Paul Quantrill was not a strikeout artist either, so the son is kind of redoing what the dad did years ago, only in better form. I think that the kid is really throwing really well, but he's got good command of his pitches. And for Minnesota, I don't mind playing against Albers. One thing about Cleveland, real quick, guys, is that since Terry Francona had to take his leave, right? They never quit on the season, that team. When I watch them night in and night out, they still play hard. They know they're not going anywhere, but they play hard. So I know I'm going to get real good effort out of them. The bullpen has had its moments. In fact, Karinchak, they wound up sending back to AAA a couple of weeks ago, which surprised me a little bit. So I want to eliminate the later innings here. But I will take their bats against Albers in the first 5 innings, and I will take Quantrill to allow, I think he can allow 1 or less, but if he allows 2 or less, I still think I get there. So give me Cleveland, based solely on the starting pitcher here and the fact that Cleveland continues to play hard, minus a half a run, minus 120. Like I said, I don't see any reason to stand in front of that right now.
Yeah, I like it.
And Cleveland's not a home favorite, right?
They are.
They are a home favorite.
Yeah, that's all. It's listen.
I didn't hear Tony
moved.
say anything on.
It's moved 15 cents, Rob. It's up to $1.55 in some joints.
Yeah. No, it's open 40. It's now 55, and the first 5 run line is at minus 20. Somebody just pushed. Try and get it here for you guys. Tony, you might be looking at it as well. Mm-hmm. Somebody pushed, the bookmaker pushed all the way to 27 cents now. with Quantrill. So
Yes. Yeah.
little action
Yeah.
down there. But most other places you're seeing 20. Pinnacle you only see 14, but Pinnacle's always lower.
Yeah,
than
and you can
everybody
get.
else.
Listen, if you have that wherewithal to get a $1.39 is a pretty good price right now, a penny on Quantrill for the game. Yeah.
People should have. If you don't have Pinnacle, you need.
Yeah,
to,
they still don't.
It's hard.
As clients, you have to go through an agent
Right.
here in Vegas, but there's a lot of penny agents here. It's not that hard to do.
Not that hard to do.
All right, so my turn, and I get to be the anchor tonight. So
The Phillies
Tony,
aren't
don't
taking.
say anything, but I want to make a
Ranger
bet
Suarez.
with you. I want to tell me what the National League East winner is.
Atlanta, they already won it.
The betting lines I want to know.
What? It doesn't matter.
Oh, you're looking at a future bet.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. Atlanta's already won it.
yeah. I'm on this other site now. I guess they don't have it because they know I'd bet it.
Atlanta's won. It's over.
So do you guys have any odds on that for the Phillies?
Yeah, I
Win
saw.
the division. Let me see real quick.
I can tell you right now. But go ahead, Rob.
I'm gonna look too, Tom. Maybe we'll pull
Sure.
up different numbers.
We probably will. My number, like me, my number's probably old.
I really don't know why they don't have it here. I mean, it's bizarre. They don't even show any of the division.
Well, it depends on where you're looking because sometimes it's hard to find.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at that. I am going with the under 26 in the first half of tonight's game with Tampa Bay and Dallas. I think Dallas is going to really struggle on offense, and I don't think Brady's going to throw 40 passes in the first half. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they have more running plays than passing plays. And we've seen this before, and then that sets up those play action where he stands back there eating a ham sandwich and just picks apart a defense. And that usually happens in the second half. So it is one of those games where we did this before. Where you play the under in the first 5, and then you take the in-game over at halftime. And that's my strategy. So I'll try to tweet that at halftime what I'm taking the over. And but this bet under 26 is a 3-unit play, and I do 3, 4, 5 unit like you guys do, just so that people know.
Rob?
And
Yes, sir.
Sorry, go ahead.
as a
Go ahead, I'm
pizza
sorry.
bet, I am taking Tom Brady to complete more than 25.5 passes for the game. Pizza money. So that's like $10, depending on where you live.
I can't even get down a $10 bet.
Well, that's true.
I can't even get a $10 bet down. Will Hill I can, but not nowhere else.
25.
Will Hill.
50 is the cheapest. I can't get anything less than 50, and I don't want to. My pizzas cost at least $50.
That's
Now,
not really my
plus-
problem, though, is it?
Plus, it is when you tell me to bet pizza money and tell me $10. That's a problem.
It's
Plus
true. We
250.
better have
Plus
a show
250.
about this.
Plus 250 on the Phillies to win the East.
All right, we're gonna write it down.
You know, real quick here, I got to rail here for a second because you mentioned Will Hill, and I don't know all the details behind the situation.
You
but
can
how
rail
the hell-
all you want. I'm going to agree with you.
How
Probably.
do they release, let go, fire, whatever, Nick Bogdanovich? It just baffles me that they would. I mean, and he, the article I read, he's very polite about it. They want to go in a different direction. But how do you get rid of a guy like that?
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you.
Tell
This
me,
is all
go ahead.
about. I think it's all about. Bogdanovich wanted to be more friendly
There you go.
to clients, and
Right.
Will Hill is only interested. Will Hill is interested in the $20 and $50 better. And
It's
you're a
how they
number,
run-
and you're a number, and you're not going to get. You're never going to get favor from Will Hill. Bottom line, I've had to exit stage left with Will Hill. If they're listening, so be it. But I have more than one account. But I've been kicked out of one account. Why did I get kicked out? I'll tell you why I got kicked out. I got fortunate. It was 2 years ago during March Madness, and I off women. I kind of liked 4 games a bunch, and I said, I'm going to play a 17 parlay. I never parlay. Period. I played a 17-er, and the 7th game was the next day. It's It's my hedge fund. That's my ability. If I happen to hit the first 6, I'm hedging the crap out of this, and I'm going to.
Right.
Well, I got busy. Okay, it was going to pay the parlay wasn't much. It was only going to pay 4,000, but I my intention was to go run over here to. I'm less than a mile from one of the stations, and I was going to run over to stations over here, not Red Rock, but Santa Fe. Okay, I was going to run to Santa Fe and I was going to play to win, and I'm this way. I'm just going to play to win $2,000. I'm going to either way. The game, whether it wins or loses, I'm winning $2,000. That's free money for what I put on this, for what I played, for what I invested. $50, guys, stealing, and most of them were money lines. So what I do, I ran out of time, so I hedged it at Will Hill, and so they said we don't want your action anymore. Yeah, for $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you hear so many stories like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's how they run all the good people out of the industry. That's how they run them all out.
Yep.
And no value for the clientele that Bogdanovich brought into that place. No value.
And that's listen, I don't know that for a fact. That's my opinion. It's just my opinion, which is worth about 2 cents. Maybe.
Crazy. All right, so John, in answer to your question, real quick, the Braves I found to win the division minus 286. I found the Phillies at plus 265.
All right.
I love that. KU needs to bring back that fat coach. That's got to be Mark Mangino.
Exactly. That's
the last time they were any good. Right.
And where did Mangino come from?
He comes off of the Bill Snyder tree, right?
What was his job before being KU's head coach?
Oh, shit, Tony. I should know the answer to this right away.
I'm trying to think, too.
Well, it's not. Once I tell you what it is, you're gonna say, "Oh yeah, I remember now." And that is, he was the offensive coordinator for the Oklahoma Sooners under Stoops. He was his OC.
Yep.
They all come from the same place.
All of them, and we can go Snyder. All of them. Guess what? All of them. Guess who? Right now, Ohio State's OC. We know Wilson. So Wilson was one of the guys in that air raid Oklahoma offense.
He was their O-line coach for a long time.
Yes, he was. And he was there with all of those guys, with the genius who's now, that somehow got fired from Texas Tech just for locking a guy in a closet, for a player in a closet. But it's
equipment shed.
It's the same guys that when they developed this air raid under Stoops and the variants from it, all of these guys, Arizona Cardinals head coach, part of that. Bradford was the number 1 pick overall. Quarterbacks out of this Stoops, out of this Bill Snyder tree. Listen, a lot of pretty good damn quarterbacks come out of Oklahoma. Now they haven't all been successful, but for the most part, if you can produce number 1 overall picks in the NFL, you're producing multi-millionaires, and they deserve coaches like Stoops and the Stoops brothers and all of the guys that are on that tree, and the list goes on and on, guys. It's huge. It's a tree that is never going to die. Now it's it's got so many branches that it's going to be very difficult to. When we talk about good coaches in college football in 10 and 20 years from now, we're probably going to say, man, from that Stoops, from that Bill Snyder Stoops tree, from K-State to Oklahoma and out.
I will say one final remark. I had this question a lot today and yesterday. Chicago White Sox are a great bet against left-handed pitching. Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore.
Has even
but they are tonight.
Especially that, but they are tonight.
I like them.
But I don't like them because they're going against the lefty.
No. I like them because they're going against the southpaw.
Help me, Rob. Hey, tomorrow, tomorrow, you guys can think about this. I'll put together some key matchups of some of the marquee games in the NFL, and we'll look at some of the bigger marquee games in college football. But one of the matchups I personally want to hear you guys talk about is we have Rookie of the Year defensive player, offensive rookie of the year. That would be the Los Angeles Chargers going all the way across the whole United States to play the Washington Iron Condors. And that is what I'm going to call them from now on. I am sick and tired of calling them the Washington the football team because that makes no sense to me. And I've said it time and time again. Who's your favorite team? Oh, the football team.
How much? Don't you have any friends?
Which one?
Do you have any friends?
Which
Do you have
one?
any friends that named their dog Dog? I got a few of those friends. I like Dog.
I didn't spend that much time in Kansas where you were raised, Tony, but I believe you.
Dog.
Yeah, well, Toto.
Dog. Come here, dog. I like it. I like it. I like your Iron Condors. I think I like it, but I think you're violating some copyrights.
Yeah. Yeah, that has to be a volleyball team, right? Like the Guardians. Or a basketball team.
Yeah.
But I think the Iron Condors sounds pretty cool.
They're a roller derby team, the Guardians.
That's right.
Oh, yep. Oh, I like roller derby.
Yeah,
yep. I still like roll. I tell you what. Now, there's women that I could date. I like that roller derby girls.
There's a few rough ones out there. Yep.
That's okay. It's okay. Listen, I feel safe going down an alley with those girls.
Absolutely. They'd set up that line, that little picket fence. And the little girl would come flying around the side, score 4 points.
Or a girl that maybe they had to pull some hair from her head. I'm sorry, but we had to pull some hair from her head. We got to make sure she is a girl.
Didn't they have like a men and women teams?
They did.
Rolling around.
The women always won.
No, there was a men's league too.
It was mixed. I don't know what to call it today. It was. Men and women on the same team.
The transgender team? I don't know.
Well, that certainly is not an Iron Condor in my book. Anyway, recap our bets. We have certainly one that's going to win, the Phillies to win the National League East. We have Cleveland minus 1.5, minus 120. We have the first half under 26 points in the Tampa Bay Dallas game tonight, with the caveat that if that wins, you can look for a tweet from me that I'm going to do the over in the third quarter.
When does the pick become like that? John gets like 5 of them, and we get 1.
I'm just creative.
Oh, okay. Well, that rules me out then, because I'm not creative.
He buries all the golf bets in there, the swimming bets. They're all buried in that other category.
Yeah. Waterproof. It's a waterproof pizza bet because it's a swimming bet.
When I found out that I worked with Adobe products and that made me a creative, I've never been the same. I have never been the same.
I thought you were going to say when you found out you worked with a dope, not Adobe, but with a dope. Or
I've done that too.
With dope, a dope with dope. I'm there. Like I always said, listen, everybody, go get your vaccinations because.
Oh, he muted himself.
I'm great at lip reading, though. He just said slider low and away.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, we got you now, buddy.
Yeah, we can hear you.
But let me just say real quick that the Cleveland play is a first 5 inning minus half a run. It goes in like 5 minutes. So if you're watching this show, get to the computer and play the game.
Can you hear me?
I can totally hear you, buddy.
Oh, good. Go get your vaccinations. And if you don't want your vaccinations, please give them to me, because if there's a line and they're giving away free drugs in it, I'm in that bitch. I'm in that line. I'll go and I'll get back in line if they'll let me.
Dude, I got mine 5 months ago. I was more than happy to go get mine.
I'm ready. One time
I did the Johnson & Johnson.
I did too. One-time
deal.
Johnson & Johnson.
I did too, but I'm ready for a Johnson & Johnson and Johnson & Johnson.
Little boost.
Well, I mean, Tony, we all know you like needles. I mean, come on. I mean,
that's not needles. Needles, bongs, straight shooters.
We're talking about the virus.
I don't care what they are.
About the virus. Yeah, it's only the virus.
You can smoke. Maybe you can smoke some of that virus stuff. That might be good.
Oh, maybe the smoke would burn it out and kill it.
If dispensaries here should start selling that shit. Get yourself the virus flavor.
Peppermint. So, on behalf of F and Tony, Rob, Veno, myself, WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and all the time these fine gentlemen spend with me, may all the wins be yours tonight and forever.
Hello.